Hey, welcome to Let's Unravel, and I'm your friend Christina. So, hot take, the best seasons of any TV show is the first 2 seasons. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll let you know my thoughts at the end of this episode. So, thanks for stopping by. Whether you're a new listener or a friend of the show, I just wanted to say welcome. So, guys, how you doing? It's the first official week of January. Isn't that crazy? It's that really awkward time where every time you go to write out the date, you put a 5 because of 2025, and then you realize, oh crap, it's 2026. And so everybody is constantly scribbling over the 5 and putting a 6, and it looks like the weirdest 6 you've ever made in your life. Yes, it's that week. And actually, it will continue for the next month, 2, maybe even 3, depending upon how quickly your body can adjust to the year change. Anyways, I just wanted to say, how you doing? How you settling back into life after the holidays? It's a little weird, but you know what? No, it's weird. Everybody has to go back to work and things are just, they're doing the thinging. Anyways, if you happen to be watching and or listening to this episode on YouTube, make sure you're pressing that subscribe button to stay up to date on all new episodes. And if you happen to be listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you're pressing that follow button so that you stay up to date again on all new episodes. And you can also cast your vote for the hot take on Spotify. And you are not going to want to miss that. Now, if you want to join the Let's Unravel entourage or the Let's Unravel posse, we're not really sure what we're calling it yet. We're still in that defining our terms. What are we type of thing. So if you want to join our Let's Unravel community, make sure you're heading over to our Facebook page at Let's Unravel Podcast. And you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Unravel Pod. A lot of exciting stuff is going to be happening there very soon, and you are not going to want to miss it. So without any further ado, let's move into our favorite topic here at Let's Unravel, win of the week. So the win this week, okay, guys, the win this week, it does have to do a little bit with Christmas. So I had batch recorded a bunch of episodes in the very beginning of December so that I could make sure I had episodes out for you guys on Christmas and New Year's. And I just have to say, I am keeping my streak alive with posting every single week since we've launched this podcast. And I'm very proud of that. I'm just going to say, but my win this week actually has nothing to do with those things, but it does have to do with the Christmas present that I received that I am so excited about, which this is also the first episode. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is the first episode I'm recording in 2026. That is another win I'm just so excited about. Anyways, so not to keep you in suspense any longer, I got the coolest Christmas present from my sister and my brother-in-law. So big shout out to Ashley and Jeff. Thank you guys. I got this Let's Unravel little sign. And so it says Let's Unravel Podcast. And so for any of you that happen to be listening and not watching on YouTube, it is my logo. It's the colors, everything. So it is perfect. Now, for any of you that happen to be listening, the lettering is all in green, which that is the color of our logo. And it's on a beautiful, wooden sign. I don't know. It's just really cool. Let's put it this way. I'm doing a really bad job on describing it. So I will be posting a picture of the sign on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Anyways, I didn't forget about you, Facebook entourage. Anyways, so there will be a photo of that up online so you guys can see what that looks like. But that was my win of this week is I'm super excited and I'm going to start putting it right behind me, which if anybody is watching on YouTube, you can also see my Christmas tree is gone. I'm so sad. Honestly, I loved having all kinds of stuff behind me. It made it so much more entertaining, which anybody that's been listening to the podcast, well, a lot of my friends and family members have been like, you got to spruce up the background. You got to make it more fun and exciting. And I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. That's all I can say. And sometimes you just do the best that you can. So without any further ado, let's move into our topic of the week. What are we unraveling today? Let's unravel the pop culture report for December. Guys, it's the first week of January. So you know what that means. It's the pop culture report time. Okay. So, December was festive and a little bit strange. If you know, you know. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. So let's talk about the show that has been taking over my For You page, or maybe it's everyone else's For You page, but I feel like it's the show everybody can't stop talking about. I mean, even Diana Ross has been talking about the Upside Down. Anyways, so let's talk about Stranger Things Season 5. So this show has been with us this entire holiday season, starting from really Thanksgiving and bringing us all the way through Christmas and bringing us all the way through New Year's. And honestly, I think it's time we give props where props are deserved. So the marketing for Stranger Things Season 5, whoever's idea was to release the episodes basically right around the holiday season. I think that was a great strategy, and I'm not going to be surprised if other TV shows start doing that sooner. Let's just talk about it this way. So they released the first set of episodes the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. They released the second drop of episodes on Christmas Day, and then they released the finale on New Year's Eve. I'm telling you, I think this marketing was brilliant. I think it was ingenious that they released these episodes around all the major holidays, because you think about it, as soon as you're done with the family festivities, what are you doing? You're sitting down and you're going to watch a show, you're going to watch a movie, and it was perfect because if you finish all your family festivities earlier on Thanksgiving, you could watch it right on Thanksgiving night. Heck, you could have even watched it on Wednesday, or if you had to work, you couldn't be around, you could do it on Friday, aka Black Friday. Now, what's even better is with Christmas, obviously you do all your Christmas festivities, but once again, what are you doing from Christmas to New Year's? That is like the endless time vortex within the year where it's like every day feels the same. You are catching up on shows, you are relaxing, you are eating so much leftover food. And the fact that they released the show so that you had something to watch, I think it was ingenious. Now, as far as the show itself, okay, so like I previously said in our other pop culture episode from last month, I am not an avid Stranger Things fan. I'm not. I'm a very casual, I'll watch it here and there. I'll fast forward through certain parts. Season 5, I think, is the first season I actually watched a majority, if not the entire season in its fullness. And so from someone that is not a Stranger Things enthusiast, I am not tracking to make sure storylines are up to date and all these different things. I will say I enjoyed Stranger Things season 5. I did, point blank, but there are certain little caveats that I'll say. One of two things is I have seen so much crap on the internet about how they say the 6 original kids, or technically it was 5, they added Sadie Sink later. But the point is the 6 kids in the series, they say, oh my goodness, they cast them when they were young and they were so cute. And now as adults, some of them are really bad actors. And I have figured out what it is. The kids that did Broadway before they did Stranger Things, they're the ones that are good actors as adults. So this would be Sadie Sink, she plays Max. Then there's Caleb. I'm not even going to try to say his last name, but there's Caleb. He plays Lucas. And then I think his name is Gatton. Once again, I am horrible at pronouncing things, but Gatton, and he plays Dustin. So Lucas, Dustin, and Max, they are by far, in my opinion, for the kids, they're the best kid actors. I mean, even Dustin, when you see his dynamic and with Steve, it is so good. I mean, first of all, I love Joe Keery. He is one of my favorites. So Steve Harrington, Steve the Hair Harrington. But the point is, Dustin is really good. I mean, Dustin is really good standalone character by himself. But then you look at characters such as Max. She was so good. And so on top of it, Stranger Things this season, they recasted Holly. This new Holly is phenomenal. I have been seeing things online how they were saying between Henry and Holly, they had done so well driving this whole season. And I completely stand by that. Put it this way, if Holly was bad, it would have dragged the whole season down. I wasn't overly impressed by 11, aka Millie Bobby Brown. I just really wasn't overly impressed by her this season in general. And then on top of it, Mike and 11, they have no chemistry, in my opinion. They were great as little kids, but obviously I feel whatever drama is going on behind the scenes, it definitely affected their on-screen chemistry. But ultimately, what I took away from this season is the kids that turned into really good actors as adults. My theory is it's because they all did Broadway, so they actually know how to act. It was a great foundation for them. So when they became adults, it's it all transitioned really well. Now for the older kids, this is Nancy, this is Robin, this is Steve, and this is Jonathan. Nancy, I love Nancy. I think she is great. I think she is such a pivotal older character in this show. Okay, so actually, when I think about Nancy, I think she's had one of the best character arcs from where she started in season 1. And you can also say the same thing about Steve Harrington, where he has a really good character arc where he started in season 1 as total jerk. But then you look at Nancy, and Nancy, she was very quiet, very reserved. But now you look at who she is by the end of season 5, and it's oh my God, you couldn't even compare them to who they were. They've changed so much. Now, Jonathan, I've realized I can't stand Jonathan. He drives me crazy just a little bit. So didn't really necessarily, honestly, the weakest link, I think it's Jonathan. But I will say, I don't know. He comes in handy at times. I don't know. And then obviously you have Robin. But once again, I look at some of these characters, like I look at Robin, I look at Dustin. These characters, I feel like they're so good. And a lot of it is because they have such great chemistry with literally anybody. Because like you look at Dustin, he has really good chemistry with all the other kids on the set. But then when you put him with Steve, he has really good chemistry there. You look at the same thing with Robin. She has great chemistry with Steve. I will say my observation is between Robin and Dustin, they have the best chemistry with anybody on the cast. That is something that I've noticed. Very rarely do you put them with someone and it's kind of just like blasé. I just feel like when you pair Dustin with any other character, he immediately can make the whole dynamic between the two of them so much better. And I feel the exact same way about Robin. She makes whatever she's interacting with so much more interesting. And then obviously you look at both of these actors, their background, it speaks for themselves. The kid that played Dustin Gatton, he was on Broadway. And then you look at Robin, who's played by Maya Hawke. Her mom is Uma Thurman. Her father is Ethan Hawke. So technically she's a Nepo baby. But I do feel like when you are kind of quote unquote a Nepo baby, you have the possibility of kind of having that upper leg because her parents are in the industry. They know kind of either how to critique her performance or they know who to set you up with so that you have the right foundation to, in order, become a great actress. I would say, so that is my final thought on just the older kids and then the younger kids and just the casting as far as Stranger Things go. I am so glad that finally on season 5, we have some like responsible adults. Now, obviously we have Hopper and we have Joyce, but honestly, I am just so glad like Karen Wheeler, she was there. Even in the second volume, there was just something so nice about an active parent being involved here. Because obviously, like I said, we have Hopper, we have Joyce, but to have Mrs. Wheeler, and then even the fact that she is the one that comes and saves them at the end of the day, where it was like they were going to be lunch, dinner, whatever. But anyways, when I'm saying responsible adult, I'm just saying I'm so glad Karen Wheeler, she showed up, you know, and on top of it, she was such a good character that it's almost like I wish they had utilized her like a little bit more. But then again, I don't know. Like I said, I just feel like it was nice to finally have a parent involved in this show that wasn't necessarily to the level of like Joyce and Hopper, but it was just nice that it was like at least one of these parents is being responsible and saying like, where are my children? That type of thing. Or I want to save my children and whatever. Now granted, Holly got abducted and she didn't believe it till she got abducted. Anyways, doesn't matter. But my final thoughts, Delightful Derek, comedy gold. I think that kid was fantastic. That is like, okay, these secondary characters are the most standout of the show. That is something like I've kind of come to the realization of. Like Delightful Derek, who is not talking about Delightful Derek? And then on top of it, you have the exchange between Derek and Holly that is hysterical, where he's like, I'm delightful now. And she goes, I don't need delightful, Derek. I don't know, anyways. But if you know, you know from watching the show. But all in all, that is basically my thoughts on Stranger Things Season 5. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Now, for our next topic, Rockin New Year's Eve. So my family has been a long time Rockin New Year's Eve with Ryan Seacrest. Yeah, because I don't think I would have been alive for Dick Clark. Anyways, but the point is, that is the New Year's Eve show that we always watch. And it wasn't until just within the last several years realizing that the only way those crowds can stay out there is by having to wear an adult diaper. I can't watch that show anymore without thinking about how everyone is wearing an adult diaper. And if you're not wearing an adult diaper, I am deeply, deeply concerned for you. Anyways, but Diana Ross, she was like the headliner performer of the whole show. I will say I did not know she was 81 years old, which is amazing, but also like, why are you making an 81-year-old headline a New Year's Eve show? Like I think about my grandparents that are a little bit older than Diana Ross, and I'm like, I would not love if my grandma was out there singing 10 minutes before midnight in the freezing cold and then climbing stages. All I have to say is there was nothing better than watching her performance and then going to X, or in my mind, it's still Twitter, and just reading all of the different, like, what are they called now that it's not Twitter? Because it's not tweets. I don't know. But the point is, I read all the messages on X and it was hysterical. I wish I had screenshotted these. I tried to pull them up, but I couldn't find them. But they were hysterical. You had some people who were like, this is considered elder abuse. Then you had Ryan Seacrest who was saying, this is the most iconic show we had. It's iconic because it's Diana Ross. But poor Diana Ross, I'm watching her sing, which, she's 81. You know what? For 81, the fact she's there, the fact she showed up, incredible. 10 out of 10. Now, was the performance the best performance of her life? No, not even close. But did she look stunning doing it? Absolutely. Should have seen that dress. It was stunning. But let's just face facts. That poor woman is 81 years old. She is freezing cold, and she is making me nervous just watching her walk on the stage. And then at one point in time, she is climbing up to like a second tier so she can lean over to see everybody. And the whole entire time, I'm thinking, dear God, do not fall on, well, I'm going to say live television, but we all know it's not live. Anyways, which I actually did see a tweet that someone said that Diana Ross didn't actually film that live. They filmed it like prior, which if anybody actually knows the truth, I want to know the truth about that. But anyways, all of the X messages about Diana Ross's performance were absolutely hysterical. To any of you that said that was the worst performance ever, she's 81. Yes, that counts for something. I don't care if you're going to start saying things like, well, then she shouldn't have been performing. Well, clearly they shouldn't have asked. The poor woman should have been tucked in bed. If she was staying up till midnight, she should have been tucked in bed watching the Rockin New Year's Eve show. She did not need to perform at 81. I'm just saying that was absolutely ridiculous. Elder abuse. Elder abuse. Anyways, she did it and she didn't forget the words like Mariah Carey in previous years. Oh, yep, just totally roasted Mariah Carey. Anyways, but moving on to other things. Once the new year rang in, 2026, I have gotten nonstop memes and like TikTok videos about turning 30. I don't need to see this. I know the reality is I'm turning 30 this year, but I don't need people to rub this in my face. And you know what? I'm excited about it. So try to freak me out all you want, even though in my mind, I will forever be 29. Anyways, moving on to our next topic, Percy Jackson on Disney+. You know what? When I was in middle school and high school, all of the Percy Jackson movies had come out. And so when I found out there was a new TV series, you know what? I didn't really watch it when the first season came out. But then, you want to know what happened? I heard so much about this show with season 2 dropping. I actually started watching Percy Jackson. I would say really the selling point of why I started watching Percy Jackson was the kid that plays Percy Jackson. So his name is Walker Scobell. Yeah, I'm hoping that's his name. But the point is, he was in another movie on Netflix called The Adam Project that came out in like 2022, I believe. And he was so good in that movie. I remember seeing him in interviews with Ryan Reynolds, and he would recite monologues from Deadpool. It was the funniest thing ever. So anyways, I'm looking up some of the facts about like Percy Jackson. I found out Walker, he's 16. And the fact that he's 16, he was born in the year 2009. I feel old. Yeah, I'm just speechless. So yeah, I found out he was 16. He was born in 2009 and I feel old. Just knowing that fact makes me feel old. But anyways, honestly, he is the best part of the whole Percy Jackson series. This is the thing I've noticed with Disney. They could have a project and have horrible, horrible kid actors in the show. But when they have one kid that is really, really good, it changes the whole dynamic. So like Walker, obviously he's carrying that show on his back because he is so good. And also Percy Jackson, because of having all those movies prior, it really kind of creates a great foundation. And obviously it's a big novel series and all these different things. But basically all I'm going to say is 10 years from now, I could see that kid Walker. He's going to have a phenomenal career just based on some of the projects he's done. Because even doing like Percy Jackson, it doesn't feel like he's going to get trapped in the Disney machine the same way like other actors would get trapped. Basically, in a roundabout way, I would say Walker, he is going to be one to watch. I think like 10 years from now, he's going to be winning all kinds of awards. That's just my personal opinion. He's got great comedic timing. And anybody that says he's not doing good, I mean, get out of here. That's all I gotta say. Now, introducing a whole new topic within our pop culture report is I'm introducing this new segment called On the Radar. So On the Radar is a bunch of TV shows or movies that I haven't gotten to watch, but they are on my radar because they look really good. And so a perfect example is there's a new 8-part drama series on Netflix. It's called Ripple. It's a new series on Netflix about 4 strangers in New York City whose lives unexpectedly intertwined, exploring themes of connection, life changes, and the unexpected ripple effect of small actions. Basically, the reason why I'm so excited about this series is because Ian Harding is in it, from PLL, Pretty Little Liars. And if I mispronounced his name, I am sorry. But anyways, so I saw a little snippet of that show. That show looks really interesting. And there's nothing I love more than watching like movies and shows about how all these different people's, their lives, they somehow all connect without kind of like connecting. I don't know. Did that make any sense? So another show that is on my radar is Selling Manhattan with Ryan Serhant. The only reason why I actually care about this show is because I had seen Ryan on a podcast, and one of my favorite podcasts is called The Big Deal Podcast with Cody Sanchez. And so he did a whole episode with her, and I will have a link to that episode in the show notes down below. But he was so interesting. And he was talking about how Selling Manhattan, it's his show, it's all about him and how he's building his real estate agency in Manhattan. And it was just so interesting. So if you are someone that loves business or loves to see people like building in real time and just, I don't know, like really putting it all out there, like you see his personality, you see his drive. So I'm really excited, and they just released like a new season, or a new season's coming soon. So I'm like, I got to catch up on the first season so I can dive headfirst into the second season. It sounds so good. So another movie that is on my radar is Playdate with Kevin James. You know what? Maybe Kevin James is starting to have a resurgence, but he's got a new movie on Amazon Prime Video, and it looks like it's a really cool project. So I'm actually really excited about this, and I got to check it out sometime soon. Now, something else that is on my radar that I'm super excited about, obviously, it's the first week of January. We are getting back into the swing of things. So that means the winter kickoff is beginning. Winter kickoff is AKA my version of saying all the TV shows that went on like a little like holiday hiatus. They are coming back. So my number one show I'm super excited about watching and catching up again with is The Rookie. If you don't know what The Rookie is, you are sleeping on a great TV series. And so The Rookie is basically about how a man in his 40s decides to do a career pivot and decides to become a cop. So he is a 40-year-old rookie. And so this is, I believe they're on like season 7 or like 8 now. So they're on season like 7 or 8. It comes back January 6th. And I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to catch up and see what Lucy Chen is doing because she is my favorite character. Now, another show that is coming back, Abbott Elementary, coming back on January 7th. And of course, Grey's Anatomy is coming back January 8th. So a lot of great shows, they're coming back. So now diving into our music part of Pop Culture Report. So this is all the music that I have been listening to for the last month. So a band that I've been loving recently on Spotify, it's called Nightly. And one of my favorite songs from them is 1989. And yes, that is in reference to Taylor Swift. And they do little references within the song, but I haven't been able to stop listening to them. One of my favorite things on Spotify is how they will do a mix of all the top songs from like a band or a solo artist. And so it'll say like this is, and then it'll be like the artist name. So the This Is Nightly, like that little genre mix up of all their top singles. I've been listening to that shuffle of music nonstop. They are one of my current favorites right now. But another one I actually discovered on TikTok is this band called In Color. And some of my favorite songs from them has been Headlights, I Want You, and Liar. And I've been listening to their album Snow Day over and over. And so they're a great, kind of like a smaller band, but super great. Go find them on Spotify. And of course, I can't finish off the music section without talking about Taylor Swift. Now, I do have to give a little bit of a caveat. Taylor Swift and I, we broke up. And by broke up, I mean I'm losing interest in her ever so slightly. Does she know that I exist? No, probably not. But I will say I have watched the first 2 episodes of her docu-series. And I have to say, even though I'm kind of like growing out of her music a little bit, or not even growing out of her music, I don't know, for some reason, like I kind of just don't care about her in the way that like I used to care about her. But I will say I did watch the first 2 episodes of her docuseries. And one of my favorite things that she has done within that series is not only has she pulled you behind the veil so that you can see what she's doing, she's an incredibly hard worker. She thinks about all of these things so much in advance. So like all of those things, like I give her props on that. Most people don't do things like that. But the other thing, my absolute favorite, is I love how she's giving bonuses to all of the people on our team that have worked tirelessly to make the Eras Tour what it was. But I will just say that is something that deserves recognition. And once again, you know what? Those were always the things that I loved about Taylor Swift, that you could see that she did value the people that were part of her team. Just unfortunately don't cross her, because otherwise, you know what? I think it's in her song, like, father figure, or yeah, no, father figure, where it's like she protects the family. Oh, you better believe she protects that family. Anyways, enough with my shenanigans. So moving into TikTok favorites. So some of my favorite TikTok creators that I've been like obsessed with recently is Jordan Lewis. His screen name is at 4girls4girls, and he has a series called Steak School. This has been one of my favorite series to watch because he basically goes into a butcher shop. He made his own little like spinning wheel. So he'll go in, he'll ask one of the butchers to spin the wheel, kind of like Wheel of Fortune style. Whichever cut of meat the wheel lands on, he will then ask the butcher what is the best way to prepare this meat. And then what he does is he prepares whatever cut of meat according to however the butcher recommended. It's such a great series. And like his videos are maybe like a minute, minute and a half long. I mean, I've become obsessed, and yeah, I think they're great. Definitely check that out. So another TikToker that I've been really loving is Reagan Lynch, and her screen name is at Reagan Lynch. But basically, she's the girl that started her TikTok account about a year ago now, and she started the series that was like, I started my whole life over, and it was because she went through like a traumatic breakup. She did all these crazy things, from like starting her whole life over to moving back home, moving to London, and moving to New York City now. All I have to say is it was a great way for her to document her life, but it was also really exciting to see the way that it was like, honestly, her videos kind of give like rom-com-y, like you're getting a new episode every few days or so. In the beginning, it was like almost like every other day you'd get like a new episode. And now it's kind of turned into like you get a new episode once every week or so. But once again, it's like a minute, minute and a half long. But it's been a really cute way to kind of see she's documenting her life. But it's also giving that like rom-com-y feel. And it's like people are really rooting for her. And then you have the other people that are like, this is all scripted, which she did address that the other day in one of her videos. And she goes, guys, I wish I scripted this whole thing. But anyways, I've been finding that to be really enjoyable. So now that we've talked about TikTok faves, let's talk about my podcast faves. I already told you one of my all-time favorite podcasts right now is Big Deal with Cody Sanchez. She is one of my favorite entrepreneurs at this point in time. Honestly, she's been one of my favorite entrepreneurs for a while now, probably like a couple of years. But I had first found out about her from the podcast Diary of a CEO. She has since launched her own podcast, Big Deal with Cody Sanchez. And I love her episodes. She is the type of she was the person that she had said, your 20s, they suck. And I have to say, that was the most liberating thing I had ever heard. And my absolute favorite thing that she does is she gives you the hard truths, but they're the truths that you need to hear. So if you're looking for a podcast, she talks all about business, talks all about entrepreneurship. So if that is something that you're interested in and you want to learn more, Big Deal Podcast with Cody Sanchez is fantastic. And she's been starting to do interviews with other really popular entrepreneurs on her show. And honestly, whenever I have time to listen to another person's podcast, that is usually the one that I go to. My next favorite podcast, that if I'm looking to like feel like I'm chatting like with a friend, or just something kind of more like lighthearted, but kind of leaves you feeling like upbeat, I love the podcast That's the Point with Kristen Johns and John Volks. Now, any of you that have grown up through the Vine era of life, a lot of you might be aware of Marcus Johns. He was a huge Vine star turned YouTuber. Well, this is his wife, Kristen Johns, and then her co-host, John Volks. He is like a family friend to Kristen and Marcus. And so their dynamic between Kristen and John, they are hilarious. I have been like an OG follower from the very beginning. And one of my favorite things they do is they have a Patreon account. So you pay, I think, like maybe $10 a month or so. I got in at like a lower rate because I was one of the first people to join. But you can pay like a monthly fee for a subscription. You get their full video unedited episodes every week, and they release all kinds of like bonus content. They have all kinds of like chat rooms. It's so cool. That's the point. It's one of my favorite shows. Like I said, if I'm not in the mood to listen to something like business-like or entrepreneurial, That's the Point is my other favorite show. And one of my favorite things they talk about is John loves to fly first class, like when he goes to wherever he's traveling to. And I love when he talks about what first class is like, because I've never flown first class. And I just want to know how the other side of the world lives, sometimes. But anyways, that's a great show if you are looking for any new podcasts this season. And They are on, gosh, I don't even know what season they're on, but they have a lot of episodes. They got like 2 years worth of episodes. So if you need something to binge, there's plenty to binge there. And so to finish off our pop culture report episode, it is time we get to the lightning round. Now, the lightning round, this is actually going to be our year in review lightning round. So this is going to be any kind of pop culture event that has taken place from January 2025 to December 2025. So are you ready? Because I'm going to talk really, really fast. So our lightning round year in review starts off with Taylor Swift and her newest album, Life of a Showgirl. And let's not forget that she got engaged to Travis Kelce this past fall and also made her very first podcast appearance, And so my favorite event that's happened this year is the Louvre heist. It was every childhood movie you ever watched growing up come to life, except they did get caught in the end. The next, the Coldplay Kiss Cam. Okay, this was a really funny one too. I mean, who would have thought a CEO of a company would be stupid enough to wrap his arms around his chief financial officer? Nope, it was she was the chief HR person. But still, that's even worse. She was the chief of HR, and she had the CEO's arms wrapped right around her. And not to mention, they were both married to other people. So, Coldplay Kiss Cam, watch out. Those things are dangerous. Our next one is the space expedition that made Katy Perry an astronaut. We all know they didn't actually go to the moon or wherever they claimed they were going. We all know that didn't actually happen. But you know what? If she wants to pretend that she's an astronaut, by all means, by all means. Our next event is we've gotten a new Superman and got a new introduction to a new Supergirl. That was, what a time to be alive. And did I mention 6'7"? Kind of crazy. And let's not forget the summer I turned pretty. Our summer was completely captivated by Conrad Fisher. And for those of you that like Jeremiah Fisher, I liked his redemption arc. And at least Belly, I don't want to talk about Belly. I'm moving on. Next topic. And let's not forget another star-studded season of Dancing with the Stars. Everyone was begging for Robert Irwin to join the show. Not only did he join the show, he won the whole show, which is bravo. But you know what? I do have a little bit of sadness for Alex Earl. Still hanging out in there. And last but not least, Mr. Fantasy. What would our world be like if we never got Mr. Fantasy? Well, that is all for our pop culture report. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and, breaking down all of the exciting things that happened in December of 2025 and then doing a quick lightning round of some of my top favorites from 2025 as well. So I would love to connect with you more. You can connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Let's Unravel Pod. If you enjoyed this week's show or the podcast show in general, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now Facebook. Your comments and 5-star ratings go a very long way. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you might listen to stay up to date on all new episodes. We release new episodes every single Thursday, and you are not going to want to miss a thing. Well, I guess it's that time of the episode to tell you my hot take. You know what? There is an exception to every rule, but I will say for the majority, Season 1 and Season 2 is usually the best for most shows. The only exception I have is I loved Grey's Anatomy Season 8. It was Season 7 and 8. Those are my 2 all-time favorite seasons within the show. But for the most part, let's just be honest. Season 1, Season 2, that is the prime for a show. Very rarely will you get a show where the other seasons will actually be good. And you'll be like, ooh, I enjoyed this. But for the most part, and if you know of a show where the seasons are better, one quick perfect example is Parks and Recreation. Season 1 was really unbearable. So I will say Season 2 was better than Season 1. But for the most part, that's not always true. Let's be honest. Some people are saying Season 1 and Season 2 of Stranger Things were the best seasons. Are you going to deny that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below because I'd be curious to hear. But I will say Season 1 and Season 2 of shows, that is the elite point. Well, that's all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.